repeat what I've just said.
It's recording now.
Brilliant. Cheers, Steve. So anybody watching the recording of this, you've just missed my first few slides. The recording wasn't working, but you've only missed the slight introduction. So although it's the summer, lots of people are off throughout the organisation. We've tried to keep the momentum up with the project. So trying to migrate the content off our old sovereign old council sites and onto the north and west site and build the new sites as we go. So plenty of people in the project team have been working on this over the last month. So in terms of July achievements, that's what we're talking about today. FutureGov, they were our partner, website partner. They've rolled off the project pretty much. They're still there in the background for us, but in terms of leading it, it's really with us now. So really keen that we push on and keep the momentum up that they built for us. Content migration is going well in terms of the services that we're meeting. Lots of progress is being made there in terms of meeting services, talking about what we need to do, planning what content needs to move over. We're really keen that we audit and improve the content and any forms we need to as we go. So the new sites by the end should be an improvement of what we all had before. The first service has gone live as part of this migration, animal licensing in the West. So that was a few pages and I think 5 e-forms. So really pleased with that. Services that we're talking to are early years, school admissions, economic development. I think Stephen will probably touch on those in his content update. And as well as feedback from the contact centres and customers, we're feeding back as each section goes live to councillors. There's quite a few councillors in the West that have expressed an interest in staying part of the project. So we send the pages over and let them know the tasks that can be completed for feedback on the site. So we're getting another stakeholder involvement. The memorial homepage, so this is like a dedicated homepage that we can load up onto the site if a member of the royal family passes. It's kind of a protocol for us. We did something for Prince Philip and we're looking to do something a little bit more respectful if another member passes. So that's been developed by the dev team in IT. We're testing that. First part of that has been built. Again, that's part of the whole project to skill up our internal team from FutureGov. Anthony's been building that for us. It's looking really good. So hopefully that'll be ready to use shortly. That'll make the homepage dedicated. So the top half will have some big images and news items there and links to any sites that are paying respect. Panels will talk about some lunch and learns. I think we had the final lunch and learn on user needs. So that's been, again, FutureGov and the internal IT digital team just showing us some best practice around how we research customer needs when we're building the website. And again, on the content side, just doing some work on the navigation, planning that. So as we move services over, we can really improve and simplify how people find content on the site. And then also some discovery work as well. So a bit like when we talk to the customer service advisors or go into the counsellors, each section that we move across, we do some discovery, talking to that service to find out what it is that they need from the site. So that's what we've been doing this month. I'm going to pass over to Stephen Marshall now, who's been researching some of the digital estate that makes up the whole website. It's not just one website, as Steve is going to show us.
Thanks, Richard. Hopefully your Miro skills will come in handy. I can't share my screen outside of Citrix, so we're relying. It's a bit of a collaboration here.
This is going to be a test. It's slowly loading up.
So it's just while it's loading, is explain what I was asked to do and what this means. So, well, my cursor's still on there. Look, it's just distracting. Let me go. I'll go onto my own Miro and say, well, I'll get rid of it. That's just distracting, isn't it? Right. So Richard asked for a visual representation of what constitutes the digital estates from all the legacy authorities that have obviously become West and Northamptonshire. So I used some of the work that was done by one of the former BAs and the Juliet, the former project manager in charge of this when we were in Future Northants days. They did some audit work on all of the constituent elements really that make up the digital estates and I think linked to websites. There is a handy colour code on the left hand side for anyone that's plans to look at this in more detail, but I won't keep referring to that because I can't really remember the colours either when I should be talking through it. But here on the top left we have the everything associated with SharePoint 2013, which is the old former NCC site, and you'll see there we've got the main site and various microsites linked to that. And as we move to the right hand side, thank you very much, Richard, exactly as we planned, you have the everything associated with the Jadu CMS there. So we've got a few main sites there. In fact, four of the original 8 were built on Jadu. In fact, 5, sorry, and then plus the recently launched museum site in Northampton. On Drupal, of course, we've got the 2 new main sites, but we've also got Corby's site and the Northampton Partnership Homes site. And then various others. We've got WordPress, there's a couple, IdeaGen, which was Daventry's site, and then up the top there on its own, like a little hamlet on its own, there is Wix, which was the Corby leisure site. I should point out what I didn't explain really. What I tried to do here, given a loose connection to the word digital estates, is try and build several little housing estates off that they're associated with vague headings. So here we've got the apply conurbation, I think like a small market town probably compared to some of the others. We've got various things that are linked that you could loosely call applications, that as in customers can apply for things. So it's anything from Blue Badge to planning and various things in between. Then we have things that again loosely called booking, so registrations, library books, some bespoke stuff built in Northampton for waste, and other bulky waste things built in Jadu. Should we go bottom left now, Richard, if you can?
Well, you're going off script now.
It's all documented. This was on my detailed instructions. Just because I think the biggest one is the one we should focus on here, which is the linked business systems. Now, anyone that's listening to me talking, thinking you've missed this, and this, fair enough. As I said, I went off the audit work that was done. What I've tried to do is not list absolutely everything, but some of the big hitters, because otherwise this could have been a huge and very confusing thing. So these are linked business systems that I gathered from that audit work. As you'll see here, everyone has a shout out here. Everyone's got their coloured post-it note here, but we've got stuff for the new sites, the ModGov that went express for the electoral services, and then anything environmental health system, housing, revs and bends, all linked here in terms of what customers can access through integrations with the legacy sites and the new sites. And then just to the right hand side we have payments. So yeah, that's several different ones there. Civica and Capita, the big hitters. E-forms. We know there are 2 instances of FirmStep, and there are 5 instances of Jadu XFP, plus some bespoke ones that have historically been used in Daventry. And then we have report it type stuff. So you've got your Street Doctor, which is now used via Fix My Street, an integration with Yotta, some other bespoke ones and in-house developed. And then lastly, very loosely, we have other software, which I guess is fairly debatable. But here you've got a link of other stuff, like a lot of the site monitoring stuff and accessibility is in here, plus some other stats related stuff that people use, like Crazy Egg and other stuff like that. And that is your whistle-stop tour of the Greater Digital Estates area, Metropolitan Borough of Digital Estate.
Brilliant. Cheers, Steve. So the idea of putting that together was to show people, and we'll be showing this around different audiences, how big the digital estate is that we've got to converge over the next few years. But also that what our project is about isn't all of that. So the main old council sites with the majority of content on, that's what our project is really focused on, moving that content over, merging it together, improving it, and then where we've got forms, rebuilding those forms where we can. But a lot of this is going to be dependent on the transformation project, where we're going to merge council tax systems, planning systems. That is out of the remit of our project. We're not leading on that, but obviously it all links from the website. So we'll be part of those projects, and when the transformation team have got their timelines, we'll need to link into that so the content improves and changes at the same time. But it is a huge beast that's got to be merged together, as I'm sure you're all aware. So yeah, it was just to show people that I think some people think that maybe the unitary sites are just two sites. There's one in the north, one in the west, but there's so much legacy software out there that it's much bigger than that. Hopefully this is going to load up slides and we can move on to the next one. I think, Panos, are you going to talk about the Lunch and Learns?
Yeah, just very briefly. So I've just dropped a link to the playlist for all the Lunch and Learns on YouTube, so you can go ahead and take a look at them there. So the latest one we did was obviously around design/user research, where we talked a little bit about why we do it and how we do it, I guess. But I think most importantly is why did we actually go ahead and decide to do these Lunch and Learns? Well, since we got to work with FutureGov and some very knowledgeable people in this field, we thought it was a great opportunity for us to learn something new to start off with, or even revisit some things we knew before, and ultimately understand that there is a better way or a different way even of working, and to get that knowledge within the organization. Now, the important thing is for this knowledge and for these things not to stay just with like the people who attended those lunch and learns. It's important for us to like share the knowledge and spread the knowledge across the organization. And as you can see, there's a variety of things we talked about, from content design to prototyping and even machine learning. So there's something for everyone, I'd say. So if you do have the time, go ahead and take a look at those Lunch and Learns. I think they're really good and really useful. So with that, I think we've got a content update next, and that's going to be Stephen, I think.
Hi guys, I've only got some quick slides to go through, so I'll brush through it so someone else can have a go. Obviously from the 1st of April, we need to get that kind of MVP product online to link to those existing sovereign websites, but the wheels have really started turning now, and we're starting to get proper real content transferred across and removed from old sites. Animal licensing in the West is complete, trading standards is nearly complete, and we've got others where we're actually talking to various departments and actively working on other content, including economic development, elections, voting and whatnot. In terms of content development, as we get more and more information onto the site, we're really kind of struggling with navigation. And this is because we try and keep things to as fewer clicks as possible. And for example, the business and licensing homepage was absolutely massive, with literally each and every page listed on it. And we're finding that was a problem as we're adding more and more content. So what we've started to do now is create the kind of main homepage or service landing page, which in this case would be businesses and licensing as an example. And then food businesses, where they'd have a group of pages, we'd give them their own service landing page, and that would just sit underneath that as a sub homepage. And then you can click onto the page from there. So it's adding an extra layer of clicks, but it's making the navigation a lot more usable for the customer, and they're able to find what they're looking for. So that does help, but at the same time, if you're... I said I'd go through it quickly, Richard, but not that quick.
I'm waiting for the key.
Yeah. So we're just a little bit worried, though. A customer may not know exactly where they are in terms of these different home pages as they drill down, or if they are on a really long contents page, we need to look at things that actually have chapters in them, so you can find the bit of content that they're looking for quite easily. So we're looking at how we might display content and the navigation a little bit clearer at the moment. We hope to come up with some solutions with FutureGov for that soon. You can go on to the next page. And then in terms of ad hoc work, we are still looking to transfer stuff over to the new site where possible. So if you've got a web freeze in place, which we all do, and we want to update one of the pages where possible, we'll always look to try and actually outrightly transfer it to the new site, because there's no point in doing the work twice in the long run. So if you've got any existing content that needs to be updated, have a think about actually whether that can go on the new site or not, and we'll try and get it updated as quickly as we can. And then just a general reminder about downloads being terrible practice, but where we do need a download to be put into place, that could be for a legal reason or there's a million terms and conditions to add on, just provide them to us in a Word format with all the accessibility errors cleared, having done the accessibility course. And then we'll look to take that file and convert it to a legally accessible version before we then put it onto the site, and that applies to the intranet as well as our websites. But always best practice, be aware that you should have page content where possible, never a download. And that's it. Don't know who's...
Yeah, that's me again. Myself and Lawrence are gonna go over this. So yeah, we did some user research and some discovery with the contact centers, and I guess we're going to try and keep this quite short so as not to bore you too much. But the first question, I guess, is why did we want to go to the contact centers? Well, as Richard mentioned earlier, there are people who use the website a lot, the websites a lot, I guess. So they make frequent use of those, and they also have really frequent encounters with the users, so they get to experience what the pain points of those users might be on a day-to-day basis, rather than, you know, ad hoc requests that we might get here and there. And the other interesting part is that they have a general and very specific experience. So I guess by having many specific experiences, they gain some general experience. So some of the people we talked to said that, oh, this specific form isn't that good, or this process isn't that good. But they also mentioned things around, oh, I guess language and terminology, etc., isn't good. So these are the reasons, I guess, we picked the contact center. So moving on, like after talking to a few people, what did we actually learn? Well, the first thing we did learn was how the contact center, actually works. So how the calls go through, what the mentors do, what systems they use potentially to get that information. So that was really important for us to get an understanding of how they use everything, and even how they use the website. Something else that we found out, which is going to sound a little bit harsh, is that the website is not intelligent, is what they called it, or not proactive. That has mostly to do around related links or solving problems rather than providing information, and making the website anticipate a few things. So if someone is reading some instructions, the website should anticipate in their eyes where they want to go next and have it ready at hand, for example. Something else that was mentioned was the escalation point. So going on a website and looking for something is standard practice, something that everybody does. But when they go ahead and call the contact center, that sort of feels like an escalation, both to the contact center and to the user. So it would be ideal for the problem to be solved in the first instance, rather for the users having to escalate that problem and then give us a call. The other thing that was mentioned a lot had to do around the visual layout. So one of the things that a lot of them mentioned was around people go on the website to do things, right? They don't go for casual browsing or, you know, just to waste some time, right? It's not YouTube. It's something that they go on to do something. So the visual layout should reflect that. There should be something that they do first, something that they read if they want more information second, and also there shouldn't be any hidden links within accordions, etc., which is something that was brought up a lot as well. The other thing that was also mentioned was the disconnect between the contact centers and how the website is being built. So this is going to come up a lot in the things we're going to talk about later, but also where we mentioned around the website not being as intelligent or as proactive. So the reason that's happening is because, well, us that are building the website don't know that those things are happening. We don't know that the user, after he goes to page A, needs to go to page B, which is something that the contact center definitely knows. But there's this disconnect where, at least from their side, they don't know of any process to actually say, right, I've been seeing this problem a lot. Maybe I can relay this to the, to us, so that they can fix it. So there is a lack of that. And this also feeds into repeated issues about different types of calls, and also repeated callers as well. This also goes hand in hand with the information architecture, right? So there isn't enough information collected at the first instance when people go into the website, so as to be able to be fed back into the website project team in order to make it, again, smarter, more intelligent, more proactive, and all of that. And last but not least, something that we hear all the time constantly is around terminology. It's very easy for people who work in the contact center or people from specific service areas to know what acronyms mean, to know what different jargon means, but that doesn't mean that it's as straightforward for the users. So that's something that comes up a lot. And to finish that off, I guess, is, okay, cool, we've come up with all these problems. What do we do now? I know for a fact that Ian and Lawrence, I think, are coming up with some content principles. Correct me if I'm wrong there. They're also coming up with some common navigation behavior. So going from page to page or from area to area, it doesn't seem as foreign to people. We also want to really stress out the importance of language when receiving content from different service areas, to use plain English. And not only that, to use terminology that makes sense, right? So what was that example we got, Lawrence, about the staying at home?
There's a service actually called, in adult social care, there's a service called living at home. So it means something to us, but for someone else who not know, living at home is quite broad in meaning. So there are kind of instances like that we are so familiar with, but for a new person, it doesn't make much sense in particular.
Exactly. And the last one, which I found very, very interesting, is that we need to establish and find a process of a continuous feedback loop. So if the contact center sees a specific area where there's a problem that people do go on the website, but they don't manage to do something, then that should be fed back into the project team, and they should look into that as well. So yeah, that was pretty much it. And I guess I'm going to pass it on to Nina now, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you. If you can move to the next slide. Thank you very much, Richard. So in terms of comms and marketing team, we've seen a lot of feedback on our social media channels, and we interact with people on a daily basis. So we are one of the teams that would receive a lot of feedback sometimes on how the website operates, but also we could see how some of the things on the website could be improved from our perspective, just to make sure that we give the customers the best experience on our website that they can have. So for example, here you'll see a number of examples that we've put together in terms of making the user journey as easy as possible. So actually it links to what Panos just said, is to make it what is coming next. What is the next thing for you if you're reading, let's say, about a planning application and that thing, and then it's kind of linking that and making the journey of those people actually more easy as well. We found the search options on the existing websites. I know it's kind of at the minute the website is being transferred from the kind of there's still kind of the legacy websites, and they will not be linked into the search option and stuff like that. But sometimes it's quite challenging to find things. In the search bar, if you type things, you might not find the same pages, or you might not find enough information or something like that. So as a comms people, sometimes we'll just look out for articles on the website, and sometimes we won't be able to find them. Maybe just because of the words that are behind it, maybe because of other things as well. So that might be something that we are looking at. And then the integration between the website and the social media. The social media is a very powerful tool that we are using at the minute, and it's getting a lot of engagement. We are approaching the same levels that NCC had built in years and years, and we built the number of followers and a number of people who like those pages in less than 6 months. So we're getting to the same levels that kind of some of those people kind of worked for years. but now it's kind of how we keep those people on the social media engaged. Of course, where possible, we will create news articles, but sometimes we have news articles that we need to go to the legacy pages on the website, on the other websites, or kind of and sometimes the journey, we need to simplify the journey for people accessing our social media. So I don't know if that is something that you are actually monitoring, the number of clicks and stuff like that. From our perspective, it's quite important in terms of reporting tools. What is happening with that information once we have kind of shared? Do people actually have the information on kind of, can we measure the impact of social media on all the pages, not only on the news sites, but also on the legacy sites as well, because most of our content will go there, or go to those old pages, as we call them. Friendly URLs are very important for us. I know we had chats about it, a few, Richard, but it's kind of now that we're moving into more and more into producing our materials, updating people with the websites, and kind of having marketing materials. We need to know, for example, if we had friendly URLs previously, can we still use them? How much time we will be able to use them, and what would be the impact if, for example, we produce a leaflet and a friendly URL from a legacy page is not working anymore, and something like that. So we need to look at that in more details from our perspective. And making pages visual, that is another thing that I know it's council website. It's not a sales website. It's not a kind of one of those pages where you would go and enjoy yourself or look for nice things. But again, from our perspective, making them visual, easier to digest the information, adding images, videos. We're producing a number of things and assets that could be used alongside those pages sometimes, just to kind of make the information more digestible from our perspective, and that is something that in the comms team we think is kind of could actually add value to the website and improve the user journey and the amount of information they can get. So yeah, that's it for me, I think.
Nina, there's a question from Simon.
Yeah.
Saying, do you plan to use Instagram? So you've got 500 followers, but no posts.
Yes, so we are planning to use the Instagram, but because Instagram is very different from, as you already know, from the other platforms we're using, which are more corporate, we are trying to produce a bank of materials that we can actually use and are suitable for Instagram, because if you look on our social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn at the minute, they're more council-y sort of led in terms of content and stuff like that, and that will not be something that people would be looking for or very interested in that sort of thing. So we need to make sure that the content we are producing is not just there for the sake of it, is there for the right audience.
Thanks, Nina. I think the next slide Lawrence is going to cover, we'll talk about the visual identity, but really good to get your feedback and your take there. And a bit like with Panos, we've got different stakeholders who need to get different things out of the site, from the customer service advisors to comms and marketing. So that's why it's really good to get that insight and that feedback. And we'll definitely be taking that forward with you and seeing how we can work closer together. So Lawrence, do you want to go next?
Yeah, thank you. The first green slide is about identity. We are trying to think ahead in terms of microsites or service sites for all the services that require kind of a different identity. However, we're trying to build it so much on the DNA of future Gov web design so that we build that consistency. And I've just put a graphic on this, the points considered, Richard. Someone took it. before that, it's all right. I'll explain. There was a graphic of an iceberg. So basically, the things that we're considering at the moment, working with Richard, is about aligning these microsites with the main sites or the council sites, so that inspires confidence. Because like Nina has said, the services that we offer are serious and they're quite essential. They're not like entertainment. Okay, could be, but they're basically very serious things. So we want designs that inspire confidence. So with that consistency, people will always feel like they're in a familiar place. So the hard work has been done to keep things simple. It's just to keep that consistency. Richard, just one slide before. So focusing on user experience for consistency and that I'm thinking of usability, how easy the website is for users to use without any assistance, and how the components we use can be reused again by the content designers, and how the backend is managed. So those are things that are way beneath the surface, so that we can keep that consistency and simplicity. Yeah, now I can move on to the next one. This goes a bit deeper. So when I say the DNA of future graph design, it means what has been created. We build everything based on the same kind of idea and the same look. So atomic design means like all the small, starting from the minute things and how we build slices and components. We keep that consistent going forward. So just like in nature. So we have components that make a page, and then the templates depending on the purpose of or the type of content that we'll be presenting. And that's how we grow the design. On the next slide, this is it won't get more complex than this, I promise. So we are designing around the user journeys. Now, when we think of user journeys, we think of a sequence or a journey like a continuous thing. But from Google Analytics, we've learned that generally user behavior is unorganized, it's quite random. So from this lady on the mobile phone, she was in a train. People come through the home page, they might go straight deep into landing pages. Someone might just get from Google straight into a form and they fill it in. Someone might just get straight into information looking for directions or instructions. And someone might just go from homepage straight to payments, or just from Google and start paying something. So in as much as we think in that sequence, people approach in a very non-linear fashion. So we are designing things from the homepage, and then we go to landing pages, and then content pages, which will have all the activities, including media, texts and tables, directories, maps and charts, and where all the transactions happen in forms and mobile and phone links, payments, etc. So I'm going to show you an example of where we're starting with country parks. So this is aligning to the north, and without reinventing the wheel, we start using the same components as the Northamptonshire website. So yeah, so bear in mind that we are serving the same people. People who do registration services are the same people who are looking for at country parks. So this consistency will carry on through the microsite. This is an example of a content page. It looks so much similar to what we have on the main site already. Just a few things have been moved about. Yeah. So that's where we are at the moment. We'll keep sharing the work and sharing with all the stakeholders as well, comms and the leaders and the public, so that we get a good balance between a distinct identity as well as alignment with actually what the service, where it belongs. It's a council service. Thank you very much. So I think next is Lucy, unless there's any question.
Thanks, Lawrence. Before Lucy comes on, just to say to people, these are really good designs that Lawrence is doing, but we're just playing with some ideas at the minute, and we'll be sharing these round with obviously services, comms, and marketing. So it's nothing's fixed in stone. That's why we have these presentations, just to show the kind of things we're working on, and we'll get feedback from people. So consistency across the site in terms of design and navigation is really important for the user journey. So it's matching that and blending that with that visual identity for certain services, and not having it go out of control, but having the options there to do it when it's appropriate. So that's the sort of balance we need to get right. Lucy, do you want to give us an update on online forms? Quite topical today.
Yes, can do. Yeah, if you just move on to the next slide, it's just a very brief update, but I kind of wanted to kick it off with just an update on some stats, really. So at the end of all of our online forms, there's the ability to leave a bit of feedback about the experience. So that screenshot on the left is usually what a customer would see when they get to the end of their transaction. They're then able to obviously leave a star rating and then also comments if they'd like to. So for the month of, well, I've included June and July in there, so 2 months. So from the start of June to the end of July, out of 43 unitary forms for North and West, we've had 3,122 ratings left, and that average rating in stars is 4.3 out of 5. So something that we quite like to do is monitor the feedback. We have a catch up every week to go through all of the forms feedback. We usually take like half an hour to an hour just to review all of the comments, kind of keep an eye on things like the average rating, just to make sure that we're not dropping below 4, so that, you know, if we were to ever drop below 4, we kind of know that there's something not quite right and we need to start investigating. But any feedback we receive, we obviously pass on to the service, whether it's positive, you know, or negative. And then just a couple of bullet points below, just on how we've been progressing with online forms, really. So tying in with the content migration work, obviously we're working alongside the content leads to make sure that any new forms or any former NCC forms can be split and put onto the new sites along with the content. We are also working on almost like a requirements document, just so that we have that prepared for when we start looking at, you know, the future and future forms platforms. But for now, we're just kind of keeping that with us so that we've got some points to go into any meetings with or anything like that. So obviously, as it's been mentioned, the West animal licensing forms are now live, and we're also progressing well with the other standard licensing forms for the West. So hoping to get those live in the next 2 weeks. The West Councillor Complaints form is also live as well. We're also working on some economic development form builds. So those are in development and hoping to go live with those shortly as well. And then 2 sort of bigger, slightly more complex move and improve pieces of work there we've got for early years. So trying to like align that with the content migration stuff, and then also school admissions, quite keen to get those forms ready in preparation for the new school terms in September. So that's everything, and I think I'm passing over to Rob for accessibility.
Oh, right. Good doke. Yeah, just a few reminders here to start with, saying we're having a bit of a constant battle with some services over accessibility of documents. So just so the process is clear, I'd like to reiterate some points. Firstly, accessibility is a legal requirement for public body websites, intranets, extranets and microsites. It applies to all web content, and that includes documents. Secondly, as Stephen was saying earlier, do not create a document for the website if it could quite easily be a web page. PDFs are not easy to make accessible, and they are not very mobile friendly. Additionally, documents tend to be uploaded and forgotten about, which leads to them being littered with broken links within a matter of months, which leads to a poor customer experience. And thirdly, if you're tasked with creating documents for the website, it's mandatory for you to pass and was to take and pass the accessibility course in iLearn. This was introduced in April this year, so if you previously took a course with one of the legacy councils, you will need to take the new course, and this can be found on iLearn on the link I've just posted in the chat, and it's also below there if you want to access it. And before emailing us saying you can't find it or the link doesn't work, please remember to log into iLearn first. Going on to the next screen you've got there, SiteMorse runs automatically every Monday afternoon, and these reports are checked every Tuesday and errors fixed or reported to the developers if they are errors that cannot be fixed by the web team. The weekly report gives us an overall score out of 10, and this week, as you can see there, for the accessibility part, the West scored 10 out of 10, and the North is a little worse off due to some linking issues and a delay in implementing the SSL certificate. And if you go onto the next screen, this month is also the first time that the sites have been included in the monthly SiteMorse local government website index, with the West achieving 10th place, with the North doing slightly worse at 18th out of the 407 councils ranked. And the aim is for us to have both sites consistently in the top 10. But that's a good start. And to help this become reality, the development team have been working on the coding accessibility issues raised by the Shore Trust, and these fixes are now on the staging site and should be deployed to the live site soon, which should improve our scores even more. So overall, we're in a pretty good place, but as ever, there's no room for complacency. So with that, and as you can see, there's a nice certificate there for the West site saying that we achieved 10th position, and a nice little thing to put on our website if we want to, but we haven't yet. With that, I'll hand you over to Nina again, who has an exciting audience activity for you.
Thanks, Rob. So in here we have a number of questions. If you'd like to scan the code, or can someone put the link as well for people who cannot scan the code or cannot type it in the chat, please?
I'll just pop the link in now, Nina.
Thank you.
So everyone can access the direct link. And then, Richard, are you okay if I'll wait a couple more seconds and then I'll share my screen?
Yeah, take over as you need to.
Oh, looks like we've already got some votes in, so I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can all see that. Can you see that, Nina?
Yes. So the first question would be looking at which platform reaches 97% of the people aged between 18 and 34. It's just kind of for us to see how much you think each platform would have in terms of reach, engagement of those audiences, which are quite important for us at the minute. So we can see a number of people are voting Facebook, TikTok, Instagram is the second one.
We've got 17 participants. So I don't know if you want to give it another few seconds, or are you happy for me to show the correct answer?
Yeah, let's give everyone a chance to vote. There's no prize at the end, I'm afraid, but it's quite interesting to see just what are your thoughts in terms of that, and if they align with our kind of findings as well. So yeah, I think we can reveal the answer. So well done to everyone who said Facebook. It's actually Facebook is one of the major platforms for us in terms of our audience, and not only 18 to 34, but also over the age of kind of 34 to 55, 60 sometimes. It's very popular platform, and we see that the engagement rates across our other platforms, Facebook is the one that has the most engagement, most likes, most comments, and it's kind of it's one of those platforms that actually gives us a lot of insight. I see that there are some Instagram lovers there. So I say Instagram is a great tool, but sometimes is more visual, which we have a limitation. That unfortunately we cannot use Instagram as much as we would like to, just because of the sort of content we are producing on a daily basis. So yeah, and that is one of those. So should we move to the next question? So the next question would be, which social media platform would have more than 60% of referrals to corporate websites?
I think if everyone, because I'm just noticing that there's no, oh, okay, ignore me. You'll figure it out.
Corporate.
Excellent. So with this one, with this question, we actually wanted to see what is actually the impact of which we share the links and we try to make on all platforms, but sometimes the drivers to our website are the platforms that we expect the least sometimes, or so it's kind of from our perspective, I think why we're doing this this kind of exercise, and just to show you that sometimes people approach us and can you put this on specific platforms? They are very specific sometimes. Oh, I want this to go on Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook and nowhere else. So we try to explain that actually there is a difference depending on your content, each platform, and on your audience, what you're trying to reach and achieve. There are different things that you can do on different platforms. It doesn't mean that it needs to be a specific platform or another. So have we had the responses from everyone? I guess we can reveal the answer. So it's LinkedIn, actually. LinkedIn is the key driver to kind of referrals to corporate websites. And it sometimes comes as a surprise to people because they see it as a more kind of a jobs post, a jobs page, and a page that you can use just for kind of promoting your vacancies and stuff like that. But actually, LinkedIn is a platform that gives you a lot of exposure if you know how to use it and if you make the best of that platform. So from our perspective, we are trying to replicate some of the content, not all of the content, because not all of the content on all the pages is appropriate to go on those pages, but we're trying to replicate some of the content from the main social media pages to LinkedIn, and actually we see a lot of engagement. People are liking it and people are visiting because LinkedIn has quite good and interesting reporting tools that will give us that sort of response. So yeah, that is it from this activity. Thank you very much everyone for taking part. I see that the chat is quite active as well. So thank you to everyone. And if you have any questions, if you want to discuss this more, if you don't agree with anything that is there, please feel free to challenge me. Come back to me. Let's have a chat about it. I'm more than happy to talk about it and kind of take you as the expert, or kind of take you your knowledge and skills on our social media platforms and improve them.
Great, thanks for that, Nina. I think you can come back every month if you like and run our activity session. That's the most engagement we've had. So just to finish off, really, in terms of what we're doing next, the content roadmap is the big focus. I think after today as well, we'll definitely be picking up the conversations that Panos and Nina have mentioned there about having customer service advisors and comms maybe a little bit more linked into what we're doing. And these sessions are good for that. You know, that's why we do these things, to get that kind of feedback. And it is the opportunity for anyone to have their say. The development team are going to carry on being upskilling themselves. FutureGov are there as external support, but they're really getting stuck into the development and website platform. And then the work that Lawrence has done around the visual identity, developing that and then starting to share that across different stakeholders. And then the plan for microsites, you know, the diagram that Steve showed earlier, it is a huge digital estate made up of many other sites. Lots of the old council sites have got microsites, so it's developing a bit of a plan for that, whether we rebuild microsites as separate sites or try and bring them more in line with the corporate identity. So again, you know, it's not the web team who just make these decisions on our own. You know, we'll do that in coordination with the comms team, marketing team, and get people's feedback on that, as well as obviously service areas. Yep, just sharing our progress. So we'll record this, we'll post it on the intranet. So keep your eye out on the intranet. You can just search for the show and tells on there, and the YouTube channel. We've got all the previous show and tells are up there. We've got intranet pages for anything with the web team are working on. The accessibility link is on there as well in terms of the iLearn training. And that is pretty much it, really. So yeah, any other questions, please feel free to drop into the chat, connect with anybody who's spoken today, or if you want to come on the microphone, that would be great if anyone wants to say anything or ask any questions about what you've seen. So thanks very much. everyone who's taken part.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Connor Lee sneaked in as well. She was our previous leader. What did you think, Connor Lee?
So